For months, Karoline Leavitt had endured the relentless glare of the media spotlight. Each day brought a new headline, a fresh wave of invasive questions, and another so-called freelance journalist camped outside her home, hoping to catch her off guard. But no one, not her critics, not her neighbors, not even her closest allies, could have predicted what she would do next. In a quiet American suburb, Karoline's bold and unexpected response would leave an entire nation stunned. It started on a rainy Tuesday morning. Karoline, usually private and composed, stepped outside wearing a bright red coat, a stark contrast to the gray sky above. In her hand wasn't a press release or a lawyer's letter. It was something far more unexpected, a handwritten envelope addressed to the public. She walked right up to the cluster of reporters parked across the street, their cameras already rolling, and handed it to the most persistent one among them, a young man named Jake Runnels who had made a name for himself exposing local scandals. "You wanted a story?" she said calmly, locking eyes with him. "Then you better read this carefully." By that evening, Jake's hands were trembling as he scanned the pages. It wasn't just a statement. It was a confession, a challenge, and a revelation rolled into one. But the most shocking part wasn't what Karoline wrote. It was what she didn't say. Within hours, the story exploded across social media. News anchors speculated. Legal experts argued. Former colleagues went silent. Something about Karoline's letter had touched a nerve, stirred something deeper. And yet, she refused to speak another word. She turned off her phone, closed the curtains, and disappeared from public view. What had she really meant? What secret was still buried beneath her silence? And perhaps most chilling of all, what was coming next? The next morning, Karoline's house was empty. Her car was gone. The blinds were drawn. Even her dog, usually seen barking at the mailman, was nowhere to be found. Neighbors whispered, speculating everything from a planned media stunt to a nervous breakdown. But when police entered the home for a wellness check, they found something that changed the tone completely. A wall covered in photographs. Dozens of photos, all of reporters. Some were candid shots taken from bushes across streets through restaurant windows. Each photo was marked with a date, some with circles, some with excess. In the center of the wall was a single sticky note. It read, in red ink, "Now you know what it feels like." Authorities tried to downplay it. Not a threat, they insisted, just strange behavior. But deep down they were rattled. So were the reporters who had once hounded her. Jake Runnels didn't sleep that night. He kept replaying her words in his head. "You better read this carefully." When he finally reread her letter the next day, he noticed something he'd missed. An acrostic, first letters of each paragraph. They spelled, "Not the end." And just like that, the story shifted. No longer was Karoline just a woman under fire. Now she was the one holding the match. And somewhere out there, she was watching. 2 days later, an unmarked package arrived at the local news station where Jake worked. No return address, no postage, just his name handwritten in neat cursive. Inside, a flash drive and a note. "I'm not the villain. You are." Jake hesitated. His hands were clammy. Every instinct told him to turn it over to the police, but curiosity won. He plugged it in. The screen blinked to life with footage, grainy, clearly taken with a hidden camera. It showed backroom conversations, off-the-record deals, unethical trades of information between freelance journalists and city officials. Jake saw faces he knew, heard his own voice in one clip, laughing nervously as someone suggested spinning a story for better ratings. The implications were nuclear, and Karoline had all of it. Worse, she'd been collecting it for years. Suddenly, everything made sense. The silence, the red coat, the letter, the wall of photographs. She hadn't snapped. She had planned. Patiently, strategically, like someone playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Jake didn't know what scared him more. The idea that Karoline might release the footage, or the fact that she hadn't yet. That night, a second flash drive appeared, this time on the mayor's doorstep, and then another at the DA's office. No one knew how she was doing it, but everyone knew this wasn't over. Not even close. By the end of the week, 5 flash drives had surfaced in 5 different cities. Each one tailored to a specific target: journalists, local politicians, police chiefs. Footage, audio recordings, even confidential documents. All authentic, all damning. The public was in uproar. News anchors were forced to report on their own corruption. Some resigned, some vanished. Jake tried to stay ahead of it, tried to figure out Karoline's endgame. But the more he dug, the less sense it made. This wasn't revenge. It was bigger than that. There was a pattern, but he couldn't see it yet. Then, something happened that changed the game completely. At 2:03 a.m., an anonymous live stream went live. Black screen. A single line of white text. "Hello, America. You never asked why they turned on me." Then the footage rolled. Security camera footage, dated 3 years prior. Inside a government building. A meeting room. Karoline was there, but not as a victim. She was at the head of the table, presenting something: slides, diagrams. Her voice calm, in control. She wasn't being silenced. She was in charge. Until suddenly, she wasn't. The footage showed a shift. Faces hardening, voices raising. Words like classified, containment, narrative. Then the audio cut. But the message was clear. Something had gone wrong. Terribly wrong. And they'd decided to erase her. But Karoline didn't disappear. She went underground. And now she was back. The live stream ended with one final sentence. "You buried me alive. Now I'm digging up all your secrets." The screen went dark. No one slept that night. Jake didn't even blink. Karoline Leavitt was no longer just a name in the news. She had become the story itself. And America was watching. The government responded in silence. No statements, no denials, no arrests. Just silence. But in the background, wheels were turning. Jake received a call from a blocked number. "Meet me at the old train depot. Come alone." He hesitated. Every fiber in his being screamed trap. But he went. And when he arrived, under flickering yellow lights, she was there. Karoline Leavitt. In person. Calm. Collected. And very, very alive. "You're the only one who didn't run," she said. Jake's voice shook. "What is this? What's your endgame?" Karoline looked at him like he was still playing checkers. "This was never about me," she said. "This was about you, about them, about everyone asleep at the wheel while the truth was being redacted, edited, rewritten. I just gave people what they never knew they lost. The whole picture." She handed him a manila folder. Inside were files, hard copies, printed names, redacted memos. Except these weren't redacted anymore. "These go public tomorrow," she said. "With or without you." "Why me?" Jake asked. "Because I know you still want the truth. And because when this drops, I need someone to survive it." Then she walked away into the shadows, as if she had never been there at all. The next morning, every major news outlet across the country received the same email. Subject: Final transmission. Attached was a single video, Karoline speaking directly to the camera. "This is not vengeance," she said. "It's memory. It's proof. It's what they tried to bury." And then came the files, hundreds of them. Scandals that spanned decades, involving not just the media, but military contractors, intelligence agencies, corporate boards. The kind of truths that change textbooks. The kind that rewrite history. The fallout was instant. Investigations launched. Hearings called. Cities burned. Protests exploded. But Karoline was never seen again. Some say she vanished into the mountains. Others believe she died shortly after the broadcast. Jake? He never confirmed what was in the folder she gave him. He just sits in his office every night, staring at the red coat she left hanging on the back of his chair, wondering, was she a hero, a villain, or just the only one brave enough to tell the truth? No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain. America will never forget the name Karoline Leavitt.